It's the Rose Report with Pete Rose and Marty Brenneman. Brought to you by Sporting Foot and Things and by Purolator Courier.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati for the traditional National League opener. The Reds kick off the 1985 season against Buck Rogers' Montreal Expos, and a couple of seasoned veterans will be on the mound at games beginning. Mario Soto, his fourth opening day assignment for Cincinnati, and looking for his third victory in such games, and he'll hook up with right-hander Steve Rogers. The Reds, of course, coming off of a 14-12 spring training schedule as they kick off this 85 season against the Montreal Ball Club. And I'll be back to chat with Pete about his Cincinnati Reds team 1985 when we continue in just a moment. The Reds about set to kick off the 1985 baseball season, standing room only here at Riverfront this afternoon. And Pete, I'm sure our listeners will be interested in maybe what's going through your mind right now.
Well, I think the utmost thing is going about the winning the opening day the proper way, play fundamentally sound, and just play a good, solid baseball game and try to, set a foundation for the way we're going to play in 1985. I know it's hard to do that in one game, but I think the guys' attitude is right where we want it to be, and the pitchers are ready, the hitters seem to be ready, and we had a real good spring training, and now it's time to take advantage of that spring training that we did have. And I just told the guys, remember what you did in September last year, and remember what you did in spring training throughout most of the spring training, and just try to play the same way. The guys aren't going to throw any harder against us today, or they're not going to hit any further. It's just there's going to be a bigger crowd, and it's maybe a little cooler. And I think I told them, don't worry about the cold weather, because it's a hell of a lot colder if you're 0 for 4 and you lose a game than if you get a couple hits and your team wins a game. That's the way I have to look at it.
Is this any different for you this opening day now that you're back and you're a manager of this club as well as an active player from all the other opening days that have come before it?
Well, not really, Marty, because I think opening day in Cincinnati is always exciting, whether you're a fan, whether you're a manager, whether you're a player, whether you're a coach, whether you're a radio announcer, TV announcer, media member, whatever. Opening day is just a big thing here, and I had 16 of them as a player, and this will be my 17th, only the player manager in this case, and hopefully we can just play a good ball game and get those standing room only crowds that are going to be here today to come back to see us many times this summer. And we hope to be a very entertaining ball club and a very aggressive ball club.
I know you and Bob Trumpy talked about it earlier this morning about a little ploy you used when you were a youngster and opening day rolled around here in Cincinnati.
Well, I remember you could get out of school if you had a ticket for opening day, and I used to borrow one if I didn't get one because it was always on TV, and take it on Friday and show your teacher, and they leave you out that following Monday. And it was such a tradition. It was sort of a way of life, I think, being at opening day or watching an opening day. And when I was a kid, that's the way it was, and I don't think it's really changed that much today, except they don't let you out of school if you got a ticket. They just take off from school.
This is the Rose Report. It's opening day in Cincinnati, and I'll be back with more, talking with Pete Rose in just a moment. Pete, your opponent, the Montreal Expos, any advantage to playing the team that you left to come to Cincinnati from last August?
Well, I know most of the players, Marty, but there again, they have some new faces like we do, and Steve Rogers has thrown a lot better than he did last year, and he never complained of having a sore arm last year, but the radar guns were saying that he was throwing 8 to 10 mile an hour slower than he did the previous year, so maybe he's feeling good again, and he's a real good pitcher, and they got some good players over there. It's just a matter of we got some good players over here and a good pitcher pitching for us today. It's just a matter of going out there and taking care of business the way you're supposed to, and just try to beat the ball club. I got a lot of admiration for a lot of players over there. They were good guys to play with, and that was a misfortunate thing that we didn't win last year, because when I chose that team, I thought we had a good chance of winning, but that doesn't always work out that way. So, they're a different look team, and they're in a tough division, and they're going to scrap and try to be a lot better ball club in 1985, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they aren't.
Pete, it's important for this team, your team, to get off to a good start, isn't it?
Well, it is, Marty, because we're trying to keep the same attitude that we left spring training with, and that we had in '84 in September, and there again, we have a lot of road games the first month of the season. Matter of fact, we only have 7 home games, and just like Montreal, it's going from here to Chicago to St. Louis. So they're thinking the same thing we are, but the only difference is we got a couple home games. And I was talking to Eli Wallach a minute ago, and he said that we got our first 8 games are on the road. I said, well, I hope you're 6-2 after the first 8. They only leave here 0-2. That'd be all right with me. So they're not in my division, but I'll be pulling for those guys, just like I'll be pulling for a lot of guys on Philadelphia, because when you play with guys and you have fun with them and they show you a lot, you sort of root for them in your own little way.
You know, this is the first time, I think, in 4 years that this ballpark has been sold out for an opening day game. In fact, SRO, as you get ready to tee it up in a little less than a half hour. This has to be impressive to you also.
Well, I think that's because of my players, because of the players' attitude and the way they talk to the press in a very positive way, and the way they try to play the game. And hopefully, like I said, that the people will want to come back many times to see this group of guys play baseball. And I think this ball club is going to be a good ball club to start with. I think it's going to be a better ball club as the season goes on, because we have the right chemistry to really blend in together. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we aren't a real good ball club in a month or so, because I think the more times we play with each other, the better we're all going to get to know each other, and the more fun we're going to start having, and it's going to be that type of situation.
Is Pete Rose, the player, ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I feel good. It's a pretty nice day out here. I didn't expect it to be this nice after I woke up yesterday, but there again, I wouldn't care if it was real cold, because I think you have an advantage if you don't worry about it, because a lot of guys don't like the cold weather, and hey, you got to play the game. If there's going to be standing room only here, they're colder than we are, because we're out here running around, so you got to give them a good effort and just throw the cold out of your mind.
I don't know anyone around these parts of the country who's not excited. Pete, we wish for you the best, and a win is your first game as a manager on opening day in this ballpark.
Good luck to you and Joe, and don't have no bleeps on the air, okay?
We won't. Okay. The Reds against the Montreal Expos, SRO, here at Riverfront Stadium. Stay tuned. Joe Knuxall's coming up next on the Reds Radio Network.
Let's go Turfside with Joe Knuxall. Brought to you by Jeff Weiler Chevrolet, where Chevrolets, like eggs, are cheaper in the country.
Hi, everybody. This afternoon, the Reds and the Montreal Expos begin the 1985 baseball season here at Riverfront Stadium. For Montreal, Steve Rogers will go to the mound. For the Reds, it'll be Mario Soto. Our guest on Turfside this afternoon, Dave Parker. And, of course, Dave in his second opener with the Cincinnati Reds, and he watched a lot of them as a young man many moons ago. And we'll be back with Dave after this word. Well, Dave, as we said, your second opener as a player, but boy, you can remember some other ones, can't you, way back when?
Oh, yes. This was always a fun day for me as a school kid, opening day with Cincinnati, during Old Crosley Field time. And it was just a big thrill for me on those days. And to play in one is even a bigger thrill, especially on my second year in a city that I hope to retire in.
Dave, and we look at this afternoon, and it's a sellout, a complete sellout. And, boy, I guess when you go back even to Pittsburgh on opening days, a sellout?
Well, I played in front of a few sellout crowds, but, being at home, I think the butterflies will be enhanced a heck of a lot more, being that I'm playing in my hometown now on opening day. But the players are really excited, and we've been excited since spring training, and we hope that we're going to put on a good show today and also throughout this season.
Dave, you look at the ball club this year, and certainly it's a tremendous difference as we get ready to open this 85 season than we did last year.
Oh, without a doubt. I think that the main ingredient to the attitude around here is Pete Rose. Pete Rose is such an enthusiastic man. He plays very enthusiastically, and he has such a great rapport with his players that, these guys are ready to go out and tear down walls to help Pete be a successful manager. And it's just been great playing on him for this short period of time, and I'm sure you're going to see some big things out of the ball club under Pete Rose.
Dave, in talking about big things, can you yourself feel a totally different attitude? We've talked about that many times, but still individuals where you feel that we're going to have a much better year.
Yes, and I think I'm going to do a lot better this year simply because I'm more relaxed. Last year it was kind of an intense time for me coming over from Pittsburgh and making a transition, but after being here and really feeling comfortable, I think I can add on to my numbers. And frankly, I think this ball club are sold on the fact that we can compete in the West from the way we finished last season under Pete, and we're all enthusiastic about possibly winning this thing, not only competing well, but possibly winning it.
Dave, we looked at spring training, and as we've talked so many times how great it was, but a real improvement offensively during the course of spring training. We know that that's spring training, but still I think that'll project into the season.
Yes, I think so. That's one of the reasons we want to get off on a good note the last week of spring training. We have a lot of offensive punch. I think our shortcoming was pitching, consistent pitching, and I think that's even improved a lot. But of course we've loaded with great outfield ability. We got guys that probably could play as starters on any clubs in the league. But the one thing that you only got 3 outfield positions, and the fact that we don't have them all out there at one time, it gives us depth as well. So that even makes the team stronger.
I think you bring up a good word, depth, and there's probably more depth this year, isn't there?
Oh, without a doubt. Ag Davis coming into his own, who I'm looking for some big numbers out of Ag. The one thing that we want to do is just keep Ag on the ground, because you have a tendency to let your first full year in the major leagues kind of get too big for you. So the one thing that we want to do is keep Ag in check and keep him comfortable and have him stay within himself, and I think he'll have a productive year.
You mentioned things like that, Dave, and certainly him playing playing some last year, and I think this is true of several of the young men that are on this club this year, that little bit of time they got in at the end of last year can be valuable.
Oh, I think so, because we were competing in the West the latter part of the season, and these guys are in contention. They were fighting to stay in first place or try to get to first place, and they faced some teams that had their best out there, and they fared pretty well, and it was definitely a confidence booster for some of the younger players.
Dave, the opening day, getting back to that, and when you think of the first game, first of 162, it's, I guess, a long season, but there again, the way the ball club goes, the attitude, winning and losing certainly will make it a short one, we hope.
Well, if we win it more than we're losing, it'll definitely be a short season, but a very enjoyable one. And I think that we have a ball club that is going to go out and win a lot of ball games, because we know we don't have a devastating, power-packed hitting ball club, but we're going to make things happen. We're going to have people in motion. We're going to be hitting and running and hitting. And those are the things that make things happen on the field. And that's Pete's style of baseball, and he's definitely going to kind of conduct this team the same way that he plays, and that's making things happen.
When you talk about making things happen, certainly if I guess what we've talked about a lot is Nick finding himself and what a burden it could take off of your back and put into the ball club.
Oh, without a doubt. All we got to do is get Nick to put the ball in play. Nick is an enormously strong young fella. He's a sound defensive player, and the one thing that he had problems with was he was just a little over-patient at the plate. He was taking that pitch that was a little bit outside, but a guy with his strength, if he puts bat on the ball, he can hit it somewhere deep to right field or possibly out of the park. And I think Nick is a much more aggressive hitter this year, and in spring training he had a great spring, and like I say, if Nick just put the ball in play, he's going to help this club a heck of a lot.
Well, let's hope we have a great year and everybody helps.
Thank you, Joe. I think we will.
All right. Dave Parker has been our guest. We'll be back with a look at the starting pitchers after this word. Well, this afternoon here at Riverfront, the opening of the 1985 baseball season, and the pitchers for the Expos, it'll be Steve Rogers. For the Reds, Mario Soto. Rogers has won 6 and lost 15 last year with a .431 earned run average, and against the Reds he was 0-2 lifetime. Steve against Cincinnati, 12 wins and 13 losses. For Rogers, he has made 8 opening day starts since being with Montreal. For the Reds, Mario Soto. And Mario will be making, of course, his 4th opening day start, and he is the only one in the history of the Reds, other than Pete Donahue, who started 5 opening days in a row. Mario, overall, last year, 18 wins and 7 losses. He worked 237 innings, allowed 181 hits, struck out 185, and walked 87, and in 33 starts, completed 13 with a .353 earned run average. Mario against Montreal last year won 1 and lost 1, and his lifetime against the Expos, 3 wins and 8 losses. So those are your starters. Steve Rogers, 6 and 15. Of course, Steve was not scheduled. Charlie Lee we thought would be, but we understand Charlie has not thrown a baseball as yet this spring. So Steve Rogers, who was 16 and 15 last year for Montreal, and Mario Soto. Mario was 18 and 7 for the Reds. Stay tuned, and we'll be back with play-by-play in just a couple of minutes.
It's the Reds on radio. The 1985 Cincinnati Reds are on the air. Reds baseball is brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers. Reach for that distinctively clean, crisp taste that says Budweiser. For all you do, this Bud's for you. By Marathon and Marathon dealers and distributors. Best in the long run. By Steel chainsaws, grass and weed trimmers, and leaf blowers. By Pepsi-Cola General Bottlers Incorporated at Cincinnati. Pepsi, the choice of a new generation. By Frisch's, we never forgot what a restaurant ought to be. And by First National Bank of Cincinnati, the bank with flexible certificates of deposit to meet a full range of investment needs. Now, for all the play-by-play action of Cincinnati Reds baseball, here's Marty Brenneman and Joe Nuxall.
Good afternoon, everybody, from Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. Welcome again to Reds baseball. The opening game of the 1985 season this afternoon, the traditional National League opener, and the 101st time that the Cincinnati Reds have opened in their home ballpark since being a member of the National League. This afternoon, they kick it all off against Buck Rogers' Montreal Expos, and a couple of seasoned veterans will be on the mound. For the Reds, Mario Soto, and for Montreal, Steve Rogers. And we'll be back to take a look at the starting lineups in just a moment. If you're ready now, the starting lineups today. First for Montreal, leading off Tim Raines in left field. Batting second in center field, a rookie, Herm Winningham. Hitting third in right field, Andre Dawson. The cleanup batter and first baseman, a former Red, Dan Dreesen. Batting fifth at shortstop, Hubie Brooks. Hitting number 6, playing second base, Vance Law. Tim Wallach will be at third base in bat 7. Hitting 8th, the catcher, Mike Fitzgerald. And batting 9th and pitching, right-hander Steve Rogers. Once again for the Expos, Raines in left field, Winningham in center field, Dawson in right. Dreesen at first base, Brooks at shortstop, Law at second, with Wallach at third, Fitzgerald the catcher, and Rogers the pitcher. For Cincinnati, to lead it off in center field, Eric Davis. Batting second. At first base, the Reds player-manager, Pete Rose. Dave Parker bats third. He'll play right field. Hitting in the cleanup spot, left fielder Cesar Cedeno. Nicky Saski bats number 5. He'll be at third base. Hitting 6th at shortstop, Dave Concepcion. Ron Oster occupies spot number 7. He'll be at second. Hitting 8th and catching, Dan Billardello. And batting 9th and pitching, right-hander Mario Soto. Once more for the Reds, Davis in center field, Rose at first base, Parker in right, Cedeno in left field, Saski at third base, Concepcion at shortstop, with the bottom third again having Oster at second, Billardello catching, and Soto pitching. It is a standing room only crowd here at Riverfront on this April the 8th, 1985. A crowd of probably in excess of 52,000 under mid 40-degree temperatures and somewhat overcast at the moment, but little or no chance of rain. And I think it's safe to say the enthusiasm and the spirit is running as high in the Queen City as it has in a number of years. This Reds ball club got off to a good spring training start. They culminated their schedule with a 3-1 win over Sparky's Tigers at Louisville's Cardinal Stadium on Saturday afternoon, and they are ready to play baseball. The introductions have been made. The owner of the Reds, Mrs. Marge Schott, escorted to the Riverfront Stadium mound by Commissioner of Baseball Peter Uberoth. Again, made a strong, accurate throw with a ceremonial first pitch. Right now, the Reds are taking the field, and Joe Nutsall, here we go again.
They made the ballpark.
Sure is, pal.
I tell you, you can prepare, you can do anything you want to. But there's nothing like opening day in Cincinnati. I don't care who you are, where you're from, what your upbringing is, how stout you are, how weak you are. You just get excited, period. And it's interesting to talk to the guys. They're all excited because it's a new year. It's a different year. It's a year that I think that there's a lot more confidence than there's been here in many, many moons, and which is so important. But we all realize that this is the first of 162 ball games, and certainly a bonus at the end of the year. And I think Marge Schott has brought some enthusiasm into the area, to the ball club, and certainly we know Pete Rose has, simply because of last year and what spring training has meant to all of these fellas. And it's going to be an interesting year. You think of the opener, and certainly you want to win that first game and get off on the right foot, but I just feel that the game down in Louisville Saturday was an important baseball game. And we say, well, for what reason? It was an exhibition game. But yet, when you think about the world champion Detroit Tigers, Sparky had his number 1 lineup on the field. And to go out and win it 3-1 the way they did certainly is a feather in their hat, because you like to get things going on a positive note, and that certainly is very positive. And this afternoon with Mario on the mound, a little concern about him. How is his elbow going to react? Well, his last time out in the spring, it reacted very, very good. And talking to Mario in the clubhouse, no problems whatsoever. And as we watch him throw right now, getting ready to start this ball game, he seems to be throwing the ball with no problems at all. So we look for a good one out of Mario. On the other hand, Steve Rogers, and talking to their people, Steve is throwing the ball very good. And of course, that's good news for the Expos, because they've lost a couple of people that they counted on very heavily. And in fact, the guy we talked about all winter starting today, Charlie Lee, he hasn't picked up a baseball, I guess. And well, they said yesterday he threw some off the mound. So it's a big day here in Cincinnati, and to make it even bigger would be a nice win this afternoon.
Well, Mario Soto has concluded his warm-up. Stick battery mate Danny Billardello, and we are just about set to go. Tim Raines standing off to the right of the batter's box, looking out toward the mound. Soto kicking at the dirt area in front of the pitching rubber, trying to get things exactly as he would like them before delivering the season's first pitch. He steps on. And he looks into Bill Ardello as Raines batting left-handed, waves that bat around. Soto to the wind-up and the pitch. It is taken outside for a ball, and the 1985 baseball season is underway. Soto making his 4th consecutive start in an opening day game for the Reds, and has been a good one. He's back with a 1-0 pitch, and Raines swings on the changeup, and the count evens at 1 ball and 1 strike. In the Reds' 101 seasons in the National League, only one other pitcher ever started as many as 4 consecutive opening day games for the Reds, Pete Donahue, who started 5 in a row from 1923 through 1927. Soto is all even on Raines and dealing, and Tim swings and pulls one to Rose. Pete has it. He will take it himself, and there's one away. Somewhat apropos that the first fielding chance of the season goes to the man who manages as well as plays for this ball club. Number 14 made the pickup flawlessly on a routine ground ball, and now Soto will turn his attentions towards rookie center fielder Herm Winningham. He is one of the young men who the Expos acquired in the trade with the New York Mets for Gary Carter, and they are very, very impressed with his abilities. Left-handed batter taking it outside, ball 1. Defensively for the Reds, Rose at first, Ron Oster at second, Dave Concepcion at short, Nicky Saskey at third. The outfield after this 1-0 pitch, and it is swung on and lined softly to Ron Oster, and there are 2 men out. In left field, Cesar Cedeno. In center, Eric Davis. In right, Dave Parker. We mentioned Bill Ardello behind the plate, and the man coming up to swing the bat now for Montreal with 2 down is right fielder Andre Dawson. And if ever there was a player on any ball club in the National League who a manager and an organization hoped to be able to return to form, it is Dawson in 1985. He was a shadow of his former self last year because of severe left knee problems. But they say that knee is as in good a shape as it has been in 3 years. He check swings a foul ball at the plate. Strike 1. Underwent a very stringent Nautilus program over the off-season months. And they are expecting and hoping for a big year from a healthy Andre Dawson in 1985. 2 outs, nobody on. First inning. Raines is grounded out. Winningham is lined to second. The strike 1 pitch to Dawson. He holds back, and the pitch is down and outside. And that evens the count at 1 ball and 1 strike. Outfield playing Dawson to pull, and he has power. 18 home runs on a bad leg last season. 1-1 pitch. He swings and fouls this one straight back. It's in the upper deck, and Soto enjoys a count advantage. Danny Dreesen standing in the Montreal on-deck circle. A sellout announced for this ball game Saturday. They put 2,000 standing room only tickets on sale here at the stadium ticket office at 10 a.m. this morning. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. The Expos, no runs, no hits, and nobody left on. And after a half inning of game 1, it is Montreal nothing, and the Reds are coming to bat. Steve Rogers, last year, 6 wins, 15 losses, a .431 earned run average. That was unlike the Steve Rogers that you would normally come to expect. Starting an opening day game is certainly nothing new. On the contrary, Rogers was the first game pitcher for Montreal for 8 years in a row. From 1976 through 1983, Charlie Lee got the nod last year. And as Joe touched on earlier, in all likelihood, would have been Buck Rogers' pitching choice today, except for the problems that he has been undergoing. And they don't really expect to have Charlie Lee back probably for the first couple of months. And obviously that's going to hurt this club badly. But in Steve Rogers, they say he threw much better in spring training than he did during the course of last year. And we will begin to find that out in just a moment. Eric Davis leads it off. He's a bit under the weather, but nothing to be overly concerned about. He's had a lingering stomach virus that kept him out of the lineup Saturday in Louisville, but prescribed himself well enough to play today. And this young talent, who could be a real key to whatever success the Reds enjoy this season, is waiting on Rogers. Here comes a pitch, and it is swung on and grounded just foul at third base. Davis last year hit .224 in the time that he spent with a big league ball club. Hit 10 homers and drove in 30 runs. Montreal outfield playing him to pull a lot of real estate. Into right field, past Danny Dreesen and down the line. Rogers back with a strike 1 pitch, and Davis taking inside a breaking ball. The infield bone dry, the outfield a fast track. We have had a little bit of everything the last few days here in Cincinnati. Rain. Yesterday, a half an inch of snow fell in the morning and quickly melted away due to the rising temperatures. Pitches down and outside, ball 2. So the outfield, with anything hit down the lines or in the gap, the kind of ball that a player can't immediately get in front of, will in all likelihood go through and go to the walls. Davis waiting for the 2-1 from Rogers. Here it is, and it is swung on and grounded to first. Dreesen gloves, and Danny will outrace Dave Davis to the bag for out number 1. We don't need to tell you who this roar is for. Pete Rose begins the 1985 season needing 94 to tie and 95 to break the all-time hit record in Major League Baseball held by the legendary Ty Cobb. Rose 4,097, the record 4,191. Facing his former teammate of last season, and Rogers delivers in the pitch's low ball 1. Pete ended up the 84 year batting .286 with 34 RBIs, but hit like a man possessed from the 17th of August until the end of the season, batting over .365, and had an outstanding spring, going 11 for 18. He takes, and that's down and outside. 2 balls and no strikes. Rogers steps off the mound, goes to his mouth, and will come back on top again. The inner defense for the Expos: Danny Dreesen first, Vance Law second, Hubie Brooks short, Tim Wallach third. An outfield left to right of Tim Raines, Herm Winningham, Andre Dawson, and the catcher Mike Fitzgerald. No score, bottom half of the first inning. Rogers 2-0 to Rose, and it's taken outside, ball 3. The base coaches for Reds, a holdover, Tommy Helms at first, and the newcomer, who doubles in brass, so to speak, because he's also the Reds hitting instructor, Billy DeMars. Rose a pitch away from getting aboard, and he takes ball 4, and that was a wild one as it got through Mike Fitzgerald. So Pete walks on his first trip to the plate, and that brings up Big Dave Parker. Second opening day for number 39 in a Cincinnati Reds uniform. Parker last year hit .285, 91 RBI, 16 home runs, and he vows to better those numbers in 85. So the Reds have the first base runner of the game as Rose, following Davis's ground out to first, draws a 4-pitch walk. And Parker tries to really put some heat on Steve Rogers in Montreal. The pause, a pitch, and it's a ball low inside. Time called by Fitzgerald. He's going to go out and talk with his pitcher. The plate umpire, John Kibler. At first base, Dick Stello. At second, Bruce Spanky Fremming. And at third base, it is Bob Davidson. Fitzgerald comes back to the plate. Rogers will continue his work. 1-0 on Parker. Rose on and leading at first against a holding Danny Dreesen. And Cesar Cedeno on deck. Rogers sights the sign to stretch the check and the pitch. And Parker swings and he misses. And had a hefty cut as he tried to make it 2-0 with that swing. It's 1 ball, 1 strike. Now we start to see a speck of blue sky overhead. I'd like to see a whole lot more of that this afternoon. They are bundled up, but they are packed and jammed into Riverfront Stadium. Rogers ready again. He lets it go, and Parker, trying to go the other way, is able to foul it back off to the third base side and back into the seats, and he's behind a ball and 2 strikes. 101 opening days as a member of the National League. The Cincinnati Reds, in the previous 100 National League seasons, this team has opened a season at home in all years except 2. Parker grounds one up the middle, base hit. Rose comes to second base, takes a turn, bluffs to go. He'll stop right there, and Dave Parker has the first hit of the 85 season for Cincinnati. Rose went charging into second, made the wide turn, took a look back in center field at rookie Winningham to see what he was going to do, and then put on the brakes. So with 1 out, Cincinnati is threatening, and here's the cleanup hitter, Cesar Cedeno. CeCe coming off of a year in which he hit .276. In spring training, batted .288, and at one point had a 15-game hitting streak that went into the final week of the spring training schedule before it was finally stopped. So he's up in a run-producing situation, 2 on, 1 out. Rogers comes set and now steps off the pitching rubber. And Dave Parker will take this cue to go back to first base and have a quick word with first base coach Tommy Helms. Fitzgerald drops the sign down. Rogers looks and fires. Cedeno takes an off-speed pitch inside. 3:30 down the lines at Riverfront, in case you have forgotten after a long off season. In the alleys, 375, 404 straightaway center field. The Reds trying to dent the plate here in the first inning of game number 1. 1-0 on Cedeno. He swings and grounds to short. It is Brooks to Law and on to first base, and Danny Dreesen deftly digs it out of the dirt for a double play, and that kills the threat and ends the inning. No runs, 1 hit, 1 man left on after 1 inning of baseball. The Reds nothing and the Expos nothing. Here we go to the top half of the 5th inning. First pitch swung on, fouled out of play to the right off the bat of second baseman Vance Law, and well, now the snow is more than a little bit evident as it descends on Riverfront Stadium, and you can hear the roar of the crowd. I'll tell you, it is coming down very, very strongly at the moment. Time is called by plate umpire John Kibler. He is going to wave him off the field. So 1 pitch here into the top half of the 5th inning. John Kibler says enough is enough. And boy, I'll tell you, the snow is cascading now down on the AstroTurf. What with that, of course, green coloring, the snow is a stark contrast as it swirls and blows, and it is really coming down right now. We had been given some advance warning that we had a real doozy that was on the way here. We were not told whether it was going to be rain or snow, and I want to tell you, at the moment it looks like a full-scale blizzard down on the field as the Reds grounds crew has very quickly come out to get the tarps over on each base, home plate, the pitcher's mound, the 2 bullpens, and very shortly they'll be getting that big tarp out to cover the entire infield. But they are having real problems at the moment with this very, very strong wind wreaking havoc. And I'll tell you one thing, there are tough jobs and there are tough jobs, but these young men really have their work cut out for them at the moment. And he lines one down the left field line. That's in there for a base hit. Goes to the corner. Up with the ball is Tim Raines. Soto comes to third. They'll stop him there. And Davis with a double to left field for Mr. Rose. Eric Davis with the first extra base hit of the '85 season for the home team. And Pete, he has walked and chopped one back to the mound. Ball 2 and 1 strike. And the Reds player manager as Rogers nods his head on the Mike Fitzgerald sign and pitches. And Pete lines a hit to left field. Both runs will score. It goes to the corner. Rose has doubled. And Cincinnati leads it 2-0. Have mercy. He is 94 hits away from breaking the record as he doubles sharply to left field with Soto and Davis scoring, and the Reds are up by a couple. He is something else. They're still standing and still applauding here at the stadium, and now they settle back as Dave Parker tries to keep it going.
Well, what do you say? All you do is watch it every day.
I know. There are no more adjectives to apply to this man. Davis, Parker lines one to right. That's going to fall for a hit. Rose will score, and it is now 3-0. So the roof is caving in on Steve Rogers with 2 out and nobody on, 4 straight base hits. Single by Soto, back-to-back doubles by Davis and Rose, and a single by Parker, who's down at first base shaking his hands. That had to sting a little bit, but he'll take a whole boatload more of them throughout the course of the season. It's his second hit today. And the Montreal bullpen will start to get busy. It looks like right-hander Bert Roberge will start to loosen up.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Pete Rose. Dave Parker waiting on deck. The stretch by Burke, the pitch. Rose swings, and that's a base hit to right field. Here comes Davis, and the Reds lead it by a score of 4-1. And he needs 93. He might have them all by May the 1st, the way he's going. Eddie Milner will go in to run for Pete Rose, and that means that Cedeno will come into first base, and Milner will go into center with Davis moving to left field. So Rose gets his third RBI of the game, and he is now 93 away from the record.
Right-hander Carl Willis in deep trouble in the 8th inning, able to get out of it, and now comes to the 9th, trying to put things away once and for all. But again, he's going to have help waiting in the wings in the event his services might be needed in one Ted Power. Before Danny Dreesen leads off the 9th inning, we'll pause one more time for station identification on the Cincinnati Reds Baseball Network. Throw goes down to second, around the infield for, I'm sure, what the Reds hope will be the last time today. And it'll be Dreesen to open up this 9th inning. Danny has flied foul to left, double to right, struck out in the 6th. Willis attempting to nail it down for Mario Soto, and it would be Soto's third straight opening day victory. 1-run win 2 years ago against Atlanta, 5-4. Dave Concepcion drove in the winning run in that one in the 8th inning with a base hit off Steve Bedrosian. That's a called strike to Dreesen. And then last year, the Reds cakewalked to an 8-1 win over the New York Mets. And Soto went the distance in that one. Strike one pitch, and Dreesen swinging and fouling it off the bat handle toward the Reds dugout, strike two. And the 0-2 pitch. That bounces up there. Willis quickly blows into his hands and gets it back from Bilardello. The snow starting to swirl, but while coming down a little bit stronger now than it was a few moments ago, still not nearly as hard as it was earlier today. Here's a line drive, and Oster has it. Ron picked it off. It was hit hard. That's one of them, and the batter will be shortstop Hubie Brooks. Slide to deep left is grounded out to Esaski and led off the 7th with a triple to left center field. And came in to score 1 out later on a ground out by Tim Wallach. That is the only thing that has kept the Expos from being blanked here. Actually, taking away the rain delay, this has been about a 2.5-hour ball game, but it looks like it's going to be delayed a moment longer as John Kibler going to bring him off the field again. He has sent Brooks back into the dugout. And now comes back behind home plate to chat with somebody. But you still see a lot of blue overhead. Now, again, this has been one of the strangest weather days that we have ever seen for a ball game, whether it be an opening day game or otherwise. The conversation continuing on the part of crew chief and plate umpire John Kibler. Hubie Brooks went back into the Montreal dugout, and Carl Willis attempting to stay loose by throwing down to Dan Bilardello. Now Cesar Cedeno starts off the field and calls for a jacket. He's going to put one on for however long this mini delay might be, but now the snow is almost totally stopped and the sunshine comes out again. So Kibler slowly walking back toward the plate. Hubie Brooks bounces out of the dugout again, and he will come on and hit after all. Cedeno just as quickly sheds the jacket and will take his position again at first base. Some kind of day. That's one of the strangest things I've ever seen. Kibler just came back, chatted with the turf superintendent. Snow stopped. We're playing again. The pitch is taken for a strike at the knees by Brooks. Reds are 2 out away from winning for the 10th time in 15 opening day games at Riverfront Stadium. Taken for strike 2. Mrs. Marge shot. Undaunted through the bad weather here today. Still seated in the club box with Commissioner Peter Uberoth. Willis fires, and Brooks takes in the dirt. Certainly not what we had expected coming down to the ballpark when it was bright and sunny and reasonably comfortable, but the weather problems lessen when you consider that the Reds are hopefully about to go 1-0. Ball grounded foul. And Brooks checking to see whether or not he might have cracked his bat. stays away for a second, and now he's back in. Vance Law's on deck. Time call. Bill Ardello picks up some paper, shoves it in his back pocket. That back pocket can't be deep enough to handle all the paper that's gone in there today. Unless he's got a hole in it and he's running it down the back of his right leg. Swing and a miss. He ran that pitch up and in on him and struck him out swinging. 6 strikeouts according to Cincinnati pitching. First for Willis. He faces Law, who's 0 for 2 with a walk. Law steps in, steps out, gets back in again. Willis in a hurry. And it's a ball. 12:35 starting time on Wednesday. 12:05 the pregame shows will be yours. Jay Tibbs against Bill Gullickson in the wrap-up. Swing and a miss. Carl Willis in trouble in the 8th. Has things pretty much well in hand here in the 9th inning as he has lined Dreesen to second and has struck out Hubie Brooks. He is 1-1 to the second baseman Law. And just missed with a pitch, although he started around on it. And Bill Ardello quickly turns around, points an accusing finger at Law, as if to say to John Kibler, he went far enough. But Kibler said, no, he didn't. Ball 2 and a strike. Inside, ball 3. And the 3-1 delivery is fouled up and out of play, and the count is full. The win would go to Soto. The loss would be pinned on Rogers. But Carl Willis still has to get that 27th out. And he's full on Law 3-2. The payoff pitch. And it is looped behind second. Concepcion and Oster, and Ronnie Oster makes the catch. And this one belongs to the Reds. The Reds out of the dugout. Hands are shaking all the way around as the Reds knock off the Montreal Expos by a final score of 4-1 in the first game of this 1985 season. We'll be back in just a moment. Well, it was quite a pitcher's game. Steve Rogers, Mario Soto in the early going today. And, well, in the 5th inning, in fact, both delays of snow came in the 5th. And one was 20 minutes, the first one. And that was the inning in which Montreal mounted a threat following delay against Mario Soto when he walked Vance Law and gave up a base hit to Tim Wallach. But then Mike Fitzgerald forced Law with a ground ball to shortstop. And then Danny Bilardello came up with an excellent throw with runners at first and second and 1 out when Steve Rogers bunted through Soto's first pitch. Bilardello came out from behind that plate firing as he threw down to second with Dave Concepcion covering to get Wallach tracked off the bag, and the throw from Davey to third baseman Nicky Saski to put the tag on him. Rogers then hit a hard smash that Soto flagged down, heading up the middle, and got the 3rd out of the inning. In the bottom half of the 5th inning, it started out quietly enough. Oster grounded to second, Bilardello struck out, but then Soto had his 2nd straight hit. This is single to right field. Eric Davis fell behind on the count, but then laced a 1-ball, 2-strike pitch down the left field line for a double, and Pete Rose stepped to the plate and crunched a 2-base hit down the left field line to drive in both runs. Dave Parker singled to right to score Rose, making it 3-0. The snow then came for a second time with a count of 0-2 on Cedeno, and it was a delay of 40 minutes this time. When they came back on the field, Buck Rogers made the pitching change, taking Rogers down and sending rookie right-hander Steve Burke out to make his big league debut. And Parker was running, and Mike Fitzgerald threw him out stealing, and that ended the Reds' 5th. Montreal went into the 7th inning being shut out 3-0, and that was the inning in which the Expos scored their only run. And Hubie Brooks led off with a triple off the wall in left center. Law grounded to third, and Brooks was unable to go, but then Wallach bounced to shortstop. Brooks scored, and it was 3-1. In the bottom of the 7th inning, the Reds finished things off. With 1 out, Eric Davis drew a walk. He stole second. He stole third. And then Rose had a base hit to right field to score Davis and give the Reds a 4-1 lead. Pete elected to take Soto out of the game after 7 innings in which he allowed but 4 hits and a run, and brought on right-hander Carl Willis. He got into trouble in the 8th due to control problems, walking pinch hitter Miguel Delaney to begin the 8th, and after Raines forced him with a ground ball to third, walked Herm Winningham. But then Andre Dawson flying to right, and with Danny Dreesen at the plate, the Expos tried to pull off a double steal. And Danny Billardello fired to Nicky Saski. He put the tag on Raines coming in head first, and that Expo threat went by the boards. In the ninth inning, Willis had no problems at all. He got Dreesen to line to second, struck out Hubie Brooks, and got Vance Law on a game-ending pop-up out behind second base that Ron Oster pulled in. The Reds had 4 runs, 11 hits, and left 8. The Expos had a run, only 4 hits, and they stranded 6. Soto the winner, Rogers the loser, and Willis, going the last 2 innings, picked up the save. The Reds will try to sweep the series. After an off day tomorrow, 12:35, they'll start it off on Wednesday, our first business day special of the 85 season that will again feature a couple of right-handers. For the Reds, Jay Tibbs. He was outstanding in spring training, and his mound opponent will be a seasoned right-hander, and a good one at that, in Montreal's Bill Gullickson. We, of course, will be along 1/2 hour earlier with the pregame shows on most of these same stations, and we'll start it off at 12:05. Again, the final score today in a game that took 2 hours and 32 minutes to play before the largest opening day crowd in the history of Riverfront, 52,971. The Reds prevail by a final score of 4-1.